I forget. Because that is always what I do is I say I'm going to record it and then I'm 10 minutes in and I realize that I did it. But I would love to just chat with you. You know, I get the experience of like kind of popping into some of the conversations like where we first met. And then I work on a lot of our event marketing and stuff like that, but I don't always get to hear kind of one-on-one how things were going. And so part of what I do is chat with folks like you to sort of hear a little bit more about your experience and then, you know, hopefully use that experience to help sort of tell the story of what it's like to work with LaunchBoom. So I have some questions, but sometimes people like to start with something. So either way works for me. I can dive into questions if that works.
I don't know what's easiest. I mean, I can, give you kind of an overview of, kind of our experience, I guess, what you're looking for. I don't know if you're going to take this edited and use clips or what your plan.
For sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So don't feel like it has to be super like, polished or anything. Yeah. I would love to hear like a little bit about kind of your product and business background first, just because I don't always have like a super close up view of that. And I know the coaches probably do, but if you want to start there, that would be wonderful.
Sure. So, basically my background was in consumer product goods. A couple different companies that I worked for were in the personal care space, hair dryers, curling irons, things along those lines, as a prime manufacturer of those products, and became a major brand at one point in the United States. And then from there, this company was based in Florida. From there, I came to Chicago for a position that was based up here, is a company called Salton, Salton, and it was in the kitchen electric space. So it was the products that we came out with, like the George Foreman grill, that really started from a white sheet basically, and turned into a $500 million business. And from there, we had other products: Juice Man, Bread Man, Farberware Electrics, Salton Kitchen Electrics. So, we built that. We sold to really every single retailer from Williams-Sonoma to Walmart at that particular point. And at one stage, a equity fund came in and bought out the company at that point, and I started my own business importing products from mainland China, traveling over there, visiting factories, working on new product development, and then selling those products to, again, various retailers from that standpoint. From that, I met my partner in this venture, which is Anthony Priley, and Anthony had patents for pressure and agitation for a specific product, which is now an Affinity tea machine. So it's the Affinity tea brewing system. The patents aren't in the machine. They're in a separate chamber that looks like this. Happen to have some props here. They look like, this is going to be tough because my blur is on. So it looks like this. So the chamber has a jet that comes down the middle of it, and it builds up pressure and agitation inside of the jet, inside of the chamber. So you can see inside. Yep. There you go. You can see inside a little bit. And then the jet goes in there. And again, like I said, this goes into the machine, builds up pressure and agitation inside of the chamber, which allows the leaves to steep and open faster than traditional brewing. It's almost like a pressure cooker. So it's like 3 times atmospheric pressure that's happening inside of that chamber. And it moves the leaves around, which people aren't used to seeing leaves move around in any steeping device. Whether someone's using a steeping ball, some people talk about using a French press. You're basically pushing the leaves down. You're not allowing them to expand, or you're trapped in a tea bag, which doesn't allow the leaves to expand. So this is really innovation that, hasn't happened for, centuries within the tea market. So that's what we're launching with LaunchBoom at this point, is the Affinity brewing system, and it's a subscription service for loose leaf tea. So it's a monthly subscription service. The experience that we've had with Launch Boom was my background being traditional retail. This is really was foreign to me. It has been a tremendous, and still is, every day I'm learning. It's a tremendous learning experience. The curve has been very great, but the help with people like Hera and Soren, yourself, has been really phenomenal. Just, kind of guiding us and letting us still do what we need to do to learn. So it's not totally hand-holding, but it's where the assets are, where you can watch these videos that you can learn from. The videos are really well done, very easy to follow, and a lot of back-end information, whether it's going through Facebook, setting up different platforms. I would have no idea. And without Launch Boom, we frankly would have stumbled, would have fumbled the ball, and not really been able to move forward, or we would have moved forward with a very frustrated approach. So I think that took a lot of the frustration out. There's still frustration, but it's our frustration and it's our growth. And actually the frustration has been in the process. I want to move, I want to get it done, I want to do it now. Okay, let's go right to purchase optimization. Well, you can't. You got to go through the different steps that Launch Boom has laid out. And if you're following those steps, it really is the key to getting to the next level and getting to the point, which is ultimately for us, getting to Kickstarter and launching. So, if I didn't do what they say, whether it's a primary text, headline text, image testing, and just use some of those kind of steps and then go to purchase optimization, I don't feel that we would have reached to the point that it would be okay to get the Kickstarter, because we were trying to launch last month, which was October. We're now in November, obviously. We just weren't ready, even though we wanted to, and that's where the frustration personally came in. We wanted to launch in October. We wanted to be ahead of the Christmas rush, delivering product by January, February of 2023. And we just didn't have enough VIPs. We didn't have enough emails. And we made a decision, because you're at that point. Do you go ahead and launch anyways, or do you wait? And we waited, and fortunately we did, because over this last month, we've acquired a lot more VIPs. We've acquired a lot more emails, and we're looking to launch now mid-January. So that's, kind of an overview at this point as far as my experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love when you said, like, I'm still frustrated, but it's our frustration, because I think that's like such a nail on the head of being an entrepreneur in general, right? It's like, you don't want the logistics part or like the actual knowledge part to be the frustration. Like, that can be accessible, but it is hard, right? The nature of it is difficult. And I think you hit that spot on. And I'm super excited to hear you're launching in just a couple months. That's really exciting. I'm going to be looking for that post in school so I can cheer you guys on.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And yeah, the post in school is interesting, and all the people that did launch in October, I think it's a good value to be able to have that, to see that. And I've been following, a number of the people that have launched to see kind of where they're going and what has happened. So yeah. So
that's one of my favorite parts is kind of that like community piece of getting, because even though everybody's product is, most of the time super different, it's very cool to see people kind of going through the same thing at the same time, or the same thing just one step ahead of you, and kind of learning from that as you go.
Right. Well, I think that's a key point that you bring up, because you do learn from that. I remember when I first got on, I was watching the analytics, that Soren would be running through, or Hera would be running through, and they're going so fast, just trying to understand, people before us, and just, just taking it all in, just trying to be a sponge and learn and to grow from that. And now, when they go through it, I'm going, oh yeah, well, no, they didn't spend enough money there. You got to look, the analytics, aren't necessarily correct. So, I've learned a tremendous amount just by watching.
I love that.
And I think that's key for, new people coming into the program.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. I'm really curious, like, before you decided to kind of come on board in general, like what were hesitations that you had, and like what made you kind of put those aside, or what made you join anyway? Like any hesitations you had before coming to work with LaunchBoom?
I learned about LaunchBoom. I'm trying to figure out where. There's maybe some podcast that I was listening to, or some YouTube, something that came through my feed somehow. But I stumbled upon it, frankly. And like anything that you look at, as an entrepreneur and you're trying to develop a business, funds aren't necessarily, your friend at this particular point. And, that's one of the hardest points of entrepreneurship, is to develop and to grow and to get the most out of what you have with the little or least amount of money to put against it. So really the challenge was whether it was worth it for us to, go the step forward with LaunchBoom, with what the fee was and is. So that was, really a strong point of trying to decide whether it's worth it or not. And like I said in the beginning, fortunately we did, because we would never have been able to get to this point. So even though it seems like a lot of money in the early days, whether this becomes successful or not, and we're looking for it to be successful, obviously, and turn it into a full-time avenue of business and growth and enjoyment for our customers. If we didn't make that step, that leap to LaunchBoom, I know for a fact we would never have gotten to where we're at right now today.
Yeah, I love that. You're right. It is like, at the beginning, whether it's LaunchBoom or a lot of the other investments that it takes, like there's choices to be made in the start of your business. And I'm glad that this has been one that has, provided more resource and knowledge to kind of forward that process. I'm kind of interested in that, right? Because you had that hesitation, but you made the decision to come. What is the biggest difference that you've noticed, like from trying to do this without being a part of LaunchBoom and then now doing it alongside LaunchBoom? Like what is like the biggest part of impact that you feel in those two?
I would say that the biggest impact was we were going down a path and we were doing things, not to say that they were wrong. We had a couple licensing deals that we put together early on, and they didn't materialize over certain amount of time, a couple years. So there were hiccups along the ways as far as we were going down the path, which was more traditional avenues, not direct to consumer, more traditional retail sort of patterns. One, with a major brand that was a licensing deal. Two, to be able to take our product under our brand to people like Williams-Sonoma or Crate and Barrel, regular retail channels, and then come down, as we expand the business from that standpoint. So for us, it was really a paradigm shift of going from traditional retail to direct-to-consumer model, and I think that's what educated us with LaunchBoom of going that direction, and it could be done in parallel or right after we get to launching on Kickstarter. Then I think we have another crossroads. Do we stay direct-to-consumer, or do we start out doing regular retail channels? And it might be both. So there's different packages that we can put together at this point, that there can be different options, machine options, brewer options, basically, that we can be doing also. So there's a lot of opportunity to grow there. But I think the main thing with LaunchBoom was really the focus, the direction, leading us down a path that right now is the right path for us.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great answer. Very comprehensive. I kind of just have one last big question. And then if you have any like additional comments or anything, we'll definitely have a few minutes at the end. But I'm wondering if you kind of now having this experience, especially I think you're in a unique position because you've had a lot of experience with stuff in retail and then you've moved here to this direct to consumer. If you had a friend or a colleague who was like, I have this idea for a product, or I want to launch in crowdfunding, I'm thinking about joining Launch Boom, or do you know anything? Like, what would you say to a friend who was kind of on the cusp of starting this process or was considering Launch Boom?
Sure. I think it would be a number of the points that I brought up earlier, as far as the experience of the team, the office hours, which, can seem like a lot of time. I don't want to say wasted, but a lot of time spent on things that you think aren't really important. But by listening to the community of other people in different phases that they're in, it's like the best business book going, because you learn from really, really everyone. Even if you, one, in the beginning, don't know anything, you're learning as you're going through the process. New people coming in, they might be asking a certain question, or they're having a certain problem that either you feel you can answer, or you might have missed it by not catching a right video. But I think going through the platform, seeing the different stages that are in place as far as the videos, listening on office hours, even from the standpoint, which was eye-opening to me, was on Wednesdays with the guest speakers. There's been so many, I would say about 95% of the guest speakers have been interesting, phenomenal, and people that we have reached out to and will reach out to during this campaign, and when we get to, right now and going into Kickstarter, some additional things that we will need. I didn't even know these things existed, these different platforms or different people, and I think we're obviously taking advantage of as many that we can do and afford to do. So I think that it's really trust the process. As they say a lot of times in football and football teams, trust the process, or basketball or sports. This is the same thing. You got to follow the steps, stay on course. Don't try to over jump, what, the key people that we've been working with, Soren and Hera, don't overstep what they're telling you. They have a nice pace about them. They're pushing everyone, but they're not pushing them too hard. They're working with them so they understand, and working with the different community members to understand and be able to grow right.
I love that. And it's I started smiling when you were talking about the guest speakers, because that is something that I heavily help coordinate behind the scenes, but I never totally know, like, if or haven't known, when we started putting them every week, like, do folks like these, do not? So it's really awesome to hear that that's been of value to you. And I also will just add, if there's ever anything kind of industry adjacent that you're interested in having somebody come speak about or hear, definitely feel free to send me a message on Slack, or now you have my email. We know that, like, as an entrepreneur, if you reach out to them, it can be like they might start hounding you, or like they have all these expectations to speak with you. But I'm super, it's kind of what I do, is I'll step in and have people come speak to the group. And then if it is something that you're interested in, obviously you can follow up. So if there's ever anything that you feel like hasn't been represented, definitely let me know.
Okay. Well, I think one thing from that standpoint, and we've sort of given feedback to Soren and Hera, just the office hours, the recordings, maybe I think in your old platform, there was a little bit more of a home that you can go and find them. Right now, I'm finding it very difficult to find them.
Yeah.
As office hours. And, like and this is good for people that, are learning. If we go through different steps, like, whatever it is on Facebook, we're setting up different lookalike audiences. And, I just did this the other day, and with Hera, and there was lookalike audiences, and we went through it and everything else. And as I'm live with her and she's going through it, I'm making notes, I'm watching, I'm learning, I'm asking questions, but I'd like to go back and see that day's recording, because I want to make sure I didn't miss anything while the one-on-one was going on. So,
I know this has, I don't know the total final answer, but I do know this is being talked about right now. I think, because I know they tag them as webinar recordings, but that doesn't always filter them by date. So I think this is something that they are aware of, and I'll definitely let them know that you brought it up today, so that it's, something that comes to the top of the conversation, because I totally hear that if, it's an important part of the reason we
Right.
record them is to go back and use that resource later.
Yeah, whether it lives, up on your bar up there where you have like community calendar, things like that. Maybe it's just one of those icons up there that you can just click on and be able to get into.
Yeah, or potentially in the classroom, there might be one labeled, recordings for that. Totally hear that. I'll echo that sooner rather than later. Cool. This has been super helpful. Robert, do you have anything else that you feel like is important for me to know, or maybe important for somebody to know who might be kind of learning about LaunchBoom for the first time?
I would say at this point, we pretty much covered everything. I'm trying to think if there's any things specific that I felt like we didn't touch on, but yeah, no, I think it's a great community. I think people, work with each other. Even other companies I've had, private conversations offline with people, they're looking for sourcing in a different country, or I've been looking for things and talking to people. So I think that there's a lot of give and take that does happen, and I think the more people take advantage of that, the bigger, the better the community becomes.
I love that. What a nice place to end on. Well, if you ever think of anything else, or if I can ever do anything to support you, you know how to get in touch with me. But otherwise, I just really appreciate your time this morning a lot.
Well, I'm looking forward. I haven't dug into Canvas yet. I did. It's funny. I downloaded it, I don't know, maybe about a week before you sent that out, as far as the videos. So I started the first one, 101, basically, Canvas 101. So I'm looking to get deeper into that and use it and see what Canvas has to offer.
I'm excited. You keep me updated on how it's going. And if you have any questions, the team knows I feel so strongly about Canva. I think it is just one of the most powerful tools that's out there for people who don't have the time or want to pay for the licensing for some of the really more intricate softwares. Like Canva can do a whole bunch. And I think if you spend time getting to know it and finding around, especially for people who are selling consumer products, like the kind of images and creative you need to create can be done at a really high level in Canva.
Good. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear how.
Thank you for posting it.
Of course. Yeah. Let me know if you have questions. Thanks,
Okay.
Robert. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care. See you, CK.